try to be somewhat happy and as much as we can, because our boy Matt Bonnette and all of the folks down in Lake Charles are going through some really serious aftermath of Hurricane Laura that came in. Sports Information Director, I don't know what your actual title is, Assistant Athletic Director for whatever. Matt Bonnette joins us down, a good old friend of mine. And first of all, Matt, before we get into kind of Lake Charles in general, how are you? How's the family? How's your place? What's the update with you and your family?
Yeah, I appreciate it. My ding-a-ling, man. I think I made it even a bigger hit than what very
yeah,
good.
I think you did.
Yeah. That was great. No, we're all good. No, everybody's safe. I evacuated to Biloxi. My brother-in-law's. My parents evacuated to Baton Rouge, where my brother lives. I went back in yesterday, check on damage and stuff. My house has, my house and my parents' house, kind of like about the same. Some roof damage. They came out a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
They had more trees around their house. There's some trees fell, but not one of them fell on the house, which is great.
Yeah, that is good. Good to hear.
Yeah, me, I had some roof damage. My gutters ripped off my house, and that kind of exposed some of the fascia boards and holes and stuff. But it could have been a lot worse for us. It's a lot worse for a lot of people down there. So I guess if you had to rate it, we came out pretty lucky.
It's interesting because you and I were talking a lot in the lead up to all of this, and you had said, your wife and kids had kind of dispersed and had gone to different places, and you were going to stay, and your parents were going to stay, and then you were going to go over to your parents' house because they had a generator. What changed in that? There was, a couple of hours where you went from, all right, we're staying and we're going to buckle down and hang out because, your folks have a generator, to, all right, we need to get out of here because this is looking super dangerous.
Right. Well, I think with the first report that came out, that when it first changed to a Category 4, my dad had called and said, well, what are you thinking? I said, well, I'm still going to stay back because, I still had my animals.
Yeah.
I'm an animal guy, so I'm not leaving my animals. I had one of my dogs. My wife took one of my dogs. Well, I had the other dog and had 2 cats, and my oldest daughter has a hamster. So
right.
I had all those animals. And I'm like, well, I'm not leaving the animals. So, look, Dad, y'all need to go because this thing's going to hit. And at the time, they're talking about 15, 20-foot storm surge. There's not going to be any emergency around at all if y'all need help. So y'all need to go. So I convinced them to go. I said, I'll go to your house. If the generator's there, I'll go to your house. I'll stay and just ride it out. Well, it was, I know the exact time. It was 1 o'clock. I'm putting bottled water in the freezer so it can freeze, so I can have ice.
Sure.
When the power goes out and everything. I'm getting ready to fill up the bathtub and everything to have more water. I just happened to have the weather on. I had the local people. Well, I was watching our local, because I've always been told ever since I worked at KPLC back in the early 90s, working at KPLC. In fact, one of my friends is Rob Marciano, who's now with Good Morning America.
Yeah.
He started at KPLC. So he always taught me, always watch your local people, because the local people are going to know how the climate is. They're going to know how things work around there. The national people, they're just going to read what the instruments say. You're going to go by the instruments as well. But
sure.
They don't really understand how things, down here work, how the climate is. That's why they always say, watch your local, because they know how the climate is, how things really operate down here. They know that at some point this thing's going to jog right or left. They always do. And so I had it on local. And Ben Terry, who's a friend of mine, he's on there, and he's saying, all right, we got a strong Category 4, and we could be seeing a Category 5 by landfall. When I heard Category 5, I'm like, that's it. I'm not even going to chance it, because everything I've seen, Category 5 hits. Not even houses will survive it, especially
right.
with a storm surge as big as, 15, 20-foot storm surge they were calling for on the coast, of course.
Yeah.
But then they were calling for at least 9 foot up into Lake Charles. Charles, which, just
right. And
unheard
the
of.
thing for folks that kind of don't know the geography of Lake Charles, even though you're not technically on the Gulf, the water from the Gulf gets into Calcasieu and all of that in your area. So it's not like you're not getting that Gulf water that comes in.
Right, and behind my house, just a block over behind my house, I have we call it a gully. It's all just a piece of water that comes off Contraband Bayou, which is connected to Creon Lake. Creon Lake's connected to a big lake, Calcasieu Lake, whatever you want to call it. Connected to the Gulf, so all that flows in too. So I was worried about that. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead. I packed up everything I could, got the animals. I only had one carrying case for my cat. So I had one cat in a carrying case. I stuck another cat in a duffel bag. and I zipped it up a little, as much as I could, just to leave a little bit of hole in it. So
sure.
I'm in the car. I pack up the hamster, the dog, everything. I'm heading to Biloxi.
You got in the family truckster and took off.
I did, and it was funny. Not 5 miles into the trip, the cat in the duffel bag found his way to unzip the bag, so he's now running around the car.
Oh, man.
I mean, I can only imagine what people were thinking. I mean, and I think I kind of made a joke yesterday. I was like, okay, a man with a dog, 2 cats, and a hamster jump in the car to evacuate a storm.
Right.
That was like the beginning of a joke.
Yeah, that's not the beginning of a good tale. But you did ultimately get out and kind of got to ride it out east and then came back. So walk me through coming back. How much trouble did you have getting into town? And then what did you see when you got into town?
I came in and I was kind of concerned about, I was coming in off I-10 from the east, obviously. And, I was kind of concerned if I was going to be able to get on the 210 loop and get down to South Lake Charles where I live. So I turned off on with the Cameron Chloe exit, kind of took a back way. And I was able to power lines, every power pole, power line were down, trees, everything. I got lucky. I was following some cars going in. So I was, you had pathways you could make and you could take and everything. And with the power lines down, I've always read that it doesn't matter if you're in a car with your rubber tires, you run over a lot of power lines and still electrocute yourself.
Right.
So I stayed behind them and they ran over. I'm like, okay, they're still out.
They're your guinea pigs. Yeah, if they die, then okay, I know not to run over that power line.
That's right, yeah. So anyway, during this time, I decided, okay, I'm going to Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I was doing it, and I didn't see a power line. I don't know what I was looking at, but I mean, if I would have been in a higher vehicle, it probably would, as strong as those power lines are, and they probably don't give way much.
No.
It probably would have ripped the hood right off, the top of my car right off. And I even ducked. I mean, like as if I ducked,
Right.
So,
it's like what you do when you drive into a low parking garage. You duck, even though it's not going to help you.
Yeah, that's right. So I get to the intersection of what is McNeese Street and Highway 14, and there's nowhere else to go. And I'm trying to go west on McNeese to get, this will take me towards our facilities and everything. Well, it's blocked. Everything, power lines are down. There's no path or anything. So I have to turn around and take a different way. Eventually make it to where my house is, but it was surreal. It really was. I mean, the damage I saw. I remember going into Lake Charles after Rita, and this is when I was working at Northwestern at the time. But I went in after Rita, and then you had to kind of find a back way to get in, to sneak in, because at National Guard checking all the major entranceways.
Sure.
To the parish, but they didn't have that. They were letting people come in. So it was easily worse than what I saw for Rita. There was damage. There was damage damage to every structure I saw. There was not one building, house, or anything that did not have some kind of damage to it. I saw buildings that were completely gone, businesses completely destroyed. Just staples in Lake Charles for years and years, like Petro Bowl, been there for many years. It's gone. Putt Putt is gone. There's the AutoZone on just going out things I can remember seeing that are destroyed. And the AutoZone on Nelson Road is destroyed. Just so many places. Civic Center had its roof blown off.
Wow. And the Civic is the Civic Center the place that y'all would occasionally play games, or was that a different?
Right, that's down there by the lake.
Yeah, down by the lake, right.
I didn't make it to downtown. I saw a picture of that, but I also heard the TV tower at KCLC collapsed.
I saw that. I saw the picture of that.
Yeah, and the same one, the big tower at the CBS station that fell as well. So it just, the wind damage. They were saying that we caught a break from the flooding because when the eye came onto land, it jogged a little bit to the east.
Mm-hmm.
So that enabled the northerly flow from the hurricane to, instead of the southerly flow that they were expecting to push all the water up.
Right.
We call it the northerly flow, so it kept it from coming in.
Yeah, it pushed the water south instead of north back into your backyard.
Now the places just to the east of us got a bad surge.
Yeah.
But we were spared. But then they said that we called, the winds were a lot worse than what we were expecting, and that Lake Charles was in the eye wall the entire time. So over an hour straight of the eye wall.
Yeah.
Sustained 100-mile-an-hour winds, gusts to like 130. I think they even said they had a gust of 138. And I even heard there was a gust of like 185 down in Cameron.
Yeah, in Cameron.
So,
that's crazy. Have you talked to anyone who did stay and about their experiences?
Yeah, one of my good friends, Paul Chafin, and he helps me out a lot. And I know you'll know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That was like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
He's a telephone communications guy there at McNeese as well. He stayed, and whenever I decided to leave, I called him to talk to him. You got to leave. I tried to convince him to leave. He said, no, my grandfather built this house, lived through Audrey and all those. So,
yeah. He wasn't going anywhere.
No, he wasn't going. So I was like, all right, man. Well, I'm gonna keep in touch with you. Well, that night when it hit, I went to bed about 11 o'clock. I was like, okay, I'm going to sleep through it. I don't want to watch it. I just don't want to. I'm going to be stressed out and everything. But I don't want to watch it. I'll wake up. When I wake up, it'll be through. So, about 2 o'clock, my daughter, my youngest daughter, wakes up. Hey, the eye wall, not getting no chocolate. So I kind of fussed at her for waking me up.
Right, for waking you up. Yeah, I get it.
So I'm up now. I'm watching it, and I try to call him, and of course, there's no answer. And then I reach out to his daughter on Facebook Messenger, and she answers me back. She evacuated, and she said that she hadn't been able to get in touch with him. Her brothers tried to can't get in touch with him. But about 10 minutes later, she messaged me back, and she said, "Hey, I talked to Dad. I got with him. You would think, okay, this is a thing where technology doesn't work, okay? But she got through with him on their landline.
There you go.
There are 10 people in Lake Charles who probably had a landline.
Right.
Paul's one of them. My parents are the other.
Yeah.
And then you got a few others. So.
Well, Roger still has a landline, so he feels it.
Yeah. So she said she talked to him, said that he and her mom, they were hunkered down in the hallway. They had a couple of mattresses over them. Okay right now.
Wow. That's
later,
just,
later I kept trying to call him. Got no answer. Then about 8:30, 9 o'clock yesterday morning, I'm I'm on my way back to Lake Charles, and I called and he answers. And I tell you, I told him, I said, Paul, I never loved hearing your voice so great.
Yeah.
So much. And so I said, hey, okay, so explain to me what it was like going through that. I mean, the best you can explain. He said, well, they say it sounds like a freight train when a tornado is going through.
Right.
He said this sounded like a fleet of jet engines firing up as powerful as they can for about an hour nonstop.
Wow.
And that's not what it was like. He said at one point, what ended up being his neighbor's garage canopy flew into his house. And he didn't, obviously, when it happened, he didn't know what it was. But he said that sound, when I heard that, something flying and hitting the house like it did, shaking the house, he said, really, I thought we were going to die.
Oh.
Yeah, it's but he said, if I'd have known what it was going to be like, no, I wouldn't have stayed. No way. He said, but I made that decision, to stay. I did. But, he's the only one I talked to that stayed through it. My sister stayed. She was a nurse at Memorial Hospital, and she was at the hospital at the time, working on the 9th floor. And she said when those powerful winds would hit when the squalls would hit, that whole building would sway back and forth.
Wow.
Almost like she's like they were getting seasick.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't want to be on the 9th floor of a building that's swaying back and forth if I can help it.
Oh.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. I'm talking to Matt Bonnette, Sports Information Director at McNeese, and kind of getting the recap of what went down in Lake Charles. All right, let's talk about McNeese. Obviously, this is a sports talk show, such that it is, and obviously we talk a lot of other things besides sports. But you got to go and tour the facilities, the whole football stadium, the new Health and Human Performance Center. We can't call it an arena. You got the baseball and softball. Tell us about the athletics facilities and what you saw.
Just disruption everywhere. Baseball. And, we're getting there's a lot of renovations going on at most of our facilities right now. Anyway, but now they're taking a huge step back. All those renovations that were in progress have been torn up. Baseball, its wall was torn down. Canopy, it's called the bullpen club canopy, is completely gone. The pavilion, steel pavilion, is gone. Grandstands were ripped apart. I always said that big storm comes through baseball, it just needs to tear down that vacant press box. Well, the press box.
Yeah, the press box didn't go. Yeah, the one place you would have liked to have gotten torn down stayed.
To get something new stayed. Yeah. The track, all the wrought iron fencing around it was ripped down. And then the football, just to see what they have with the football is just incredible. One whole side of the press box was ripped apart. The big tall light poles, stadium lighting, the two of them on the west side were knocked down, bent in half. One of them on the east side was knocked down. I think probably the most impressive thing to kind of put in perspective how strong the winds were, though, was at the practice facility, which is probably 300 yards maybe from the football stadium, 300-400 yards from football. So, we had some aluminum bleachers set out there for families to go out and watch practices. Frank Wilson and having families out there. And so they were set up. We had 3 sections. They were set up at the practice facility. Well, 2 of them were blown into the football fencing, near the football stadium. So you're looking at it, these things are probably, I would say, 400 or 500 pounds each.
Yeah.
And
they just got picked up. They just got picked up in cost.
Yeah, but that was I was in awe when I saw that. But then when I was leaving out, going on the Common Street, which is leaving the off-campus facility area, which is about a quarter of a mile away from the practice facility, right across the street, and one of those bleachers was thrown into that apartment.
Wow.
Quarter of a mile away.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And then I know some of the facing on the new arena, the new basketball arena, got torn off as well.
Yeah, one whole side panel of that came down. A lot of the roofing was ripped up. You can actually, I saw some aerial footage from KPRC in Houston. They came over with aerial footage, and you could see all the way into the practice facility.
Wow.
And then on campus, the tennis complex, we have a big cinder block wall that says Cowgirl Tennis. That was going down. The softball has a lot of renovations going on, new dugouts and all that. Well, those dugouts were falling apart. And I wasn't able to get over to see the soccer because the trees were all in the way. And I didn't know where to get up there. But
that's okay, Matt. Nobody gets over to see soccer anyway.
So yeah, it was definitely a lot worse than what I really see with Rita. In fact, I have a bunch of pictures from Rita, and I'm going to kind of compare them.
Yeah, I've certainly seen those. All right, last thing, have you heard? I mean, obviously there's a lot to consider, a lot of variables to take in, but have you heard anything from the presidents, the leadership? Even folks around town, do y'all have a timetable right now for school reopening, for kids getting back down there? I mean, I know most of it does. There's still not power down there. Do y'all have a timetable working right now, or is that still very much up in the air?
Yeah, well, there's really no timetable until they get power restored. They're talking 3 to 4 weeks at least for that, and then there's no running water and there's no operating sewage either in the city. There was a parish briefing today, and they said that that could be 2 to 3 to 4 weeks before they get running water and operating sewage. I know school. I think they're going to go week by week on deciding on what to do. I think probably tomorrow they'll let the students know that, or later today they'll let them know that all next week there will be no classes. Even everything's already set up for virtual because of the virus. Even that, there's not going to be any classes all next week, and then they'll reassess and make a decision. But, just listening to the briefing earlier today, I think I think if we have any kind of power in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I think we'll be lucky to do that because, like they were saying, said Rita. Well, first of all, one of the first things they said that this storm, just by talking to emergency personnel and first responders and people who went through Rita, they said this storm, this damage is twice as bad as what Rita did.
Right.
And that's because the wind was so strong.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rita, knocked trees over on the power line, stuff like that. But this one, it literally uprooted telephone poles, power lines, trees. Some were snapped in half, but a lot of them were uprooted. That's how strong this thing was.
Yeah, and it was the most powerful hurricane to make landfall in 150 years or something. So you kind of expect. Are you gonna stay down there while the power's not on, no sewage, no running water? Are you gonna stay there? Or are you getting out?
No. I'm gonna. In fact, I'm in Biloxi right now, but I'm gonna head back tomorrow, and then I'm going to Houston. My insurance company has me set up at a place in Houston. I'll stay there, and I'll drive back and forth. But until we get water, sewage, then you just can't do that.
No, you can't.
I could go without power. I could get a generator if I had to.
Yeah, and look,
no running water, sewage.
No, I've roomed with you on the road, and without sewage, I can tell you, nobody wants to be around you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you don't want that.
No, nobody wants that.
Yeah. No, but I was talking to Raymond Parch earlier this morning,
mm-hmm.
And the thing about it, on my way home yesterday, I kind of got choked up. I'll probably get choked up here. But on my way home yesterday, I passed about 100 units. They were DOTD.
Mm-hmm.
And day before, when I was on my way to Biloxi, there were dozens of utility trucks heading to Lake Charles.
Yeah.
So the utility trucks are already there. But yesterday, on my way back to Lake Charles, I passed going to Lake Charles at least 100, maybe more than that, DOTD units, and they were heavy machinery, backhoes, they were bulldozers, dump trucks, and they were all in a caravan. And I got video of this too, so I'm gonna post it later. But and they were being led by the leader of the caravan was a Louisiana State trooper. But the very first truck in that caravan had a big old American flag stuck to it, flying, and that's just like that's what it's about. People coming together.
Sure.
People have. And I said, yeah, it's their job. It is, but they knew when they signed up for this job what they were getting into. They knew that they were there to be first responders and helpers because that's the kind of people they are. So,
yeah,
helping people.
I tell everyone all the time, as disparate and as separate as we are on so many things, no one pulls together quite like we do in a time of crisis. We know how to put all that aside and do that. And by the way, Matt, I passed our fairgrounds up here, and there were about 1,000 utility trucks in the fairgrounds parked, ready to go. And I know a bunch of them had already left. So I know they're on their way down that way. So, everyone pulls really together, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's people helping people, strangers helping strangers. Just because that's how we are.
Yeah.
And I kind of get mad because that's not what you see.
No. It's not the popular stories. Yeah, it's not the popular stories aren't the good ones. The popular stories are the bad ones. And hey, by the way, I will tell you that if you do find yourself needing a place to stay, you can come to Shreveport, but you can't bring your cats. So I don't know if you have to leave them somewhere else. I can't be dealing with cats. Right, you can leave them at the Rogers Hampton Veterinary Clinic because he's got 800 of them. Hey,
oh my God!
Look, brother.
Hey, tell him. Yeah, they do allow spayed neuter cats.
Yeah, well, the problem is he keeps feeding them. If a cat shows up, like a cat showed up and had kittens, and now they're his kittens, even though it wasn't his cat. The cat just shows up and has kittens. Now that's his cat. He feeds Matt. He feeds cats behind the Sonic on the way to work. All right, they're in the woods. The cats know. They send
signals to each other. Hey, look, this guy's a sucker.
Just meow a couple of times and he'll take you in. Don't worry about it. Look, hey, it's great to hear your voice. I'm glad that y'all got out reasonably unscathed. Glad to hear that the death toll wasn't bigger than it was. And look, stay safe. Obviously, if you need anything from us, you know where to find me. Give us a holler anytime, and continue to stay safe, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much, and thanks for everybody up there talking. I got a lot of phone calls and texts and everything from people. Really appreciate it. We'll be through. I know y'all got hit. Matt just got hit hard, and so everybody up that way got hit. So we'll all come together and we'll rebuild and get better.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
All right, buddy.
All right. Matt Bonnette, Sports Information Director at McNeese.